Hey guy, you made it. Seriously. Whatever today threw at you, noise, deadlines, people asking for things with their whole chest, you're here now, standing in a place where the air tastes like pine and cold stone, and the sky is slowly dimming into velvet. Up on this ridge, dusk doesn't rush. It settles, soft and deliberate, as if the mountains are tucking the world in. You look out and see layers of hills slipping into shadow, a river catching the last light like a thin silver thread, and a cliff line that feels too clean to be real. It's beautiful in a way that makes you quieter without trying. And just so we're honest with each other, you probably won't survive this. Not in the dramatic way, no. You probably won't survive the altitude, the wind, and the sudden realization that your legs are negotiating for better working conditions. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Drop your location and let me know how your day has really been, your worries, your exhaustion, or even a tiny joy that made you smile. I'm here to truly listen and offer the most sincere, heartfelt advice I can. Now turn off the lights. Take a deep, slow breath. Let your tiredness melt away, and gently close your eyes. Let's drift together into tonight's dreamlike lands. And tomorrow morning, if you still remember, send me a message and tell me what you dreamed. Your boots find the start of the climb, and the mountain answers with a firm, quiet pressure underfoot. The path threads through twisted pines that look like they've spent a lifetime leaning into winter and refusing to apologize. Needle scent rises when you brush past branches. The air is thin enough to make you notice you're breathing, but not thin enough to scare you, yet. You take it slow anyway, because you're not here to perform. You're here to arrive. At first, the fort is only a line that doesn't belong, too straight, too intentional, a human decision etched onto a ridgeline that normally prefers chaos. Then it resolves into stacked stone, blocks fitted tightly, shoulder to shoulder, as if they trust gravity but don't want to tempt it. Time has softened edges, but it hasn't loosened the structure. The wall remains stubbornly present, like it has been waiting for you to stop talking and start paying attention. You step onto the rampart's spine and your body adjusts before your mind does. On the outer side, the cliff drops away so sharply it feels like the world has been cut open. Wind climbs up from that empty space and presses against your face, cool and insistent, as if it's checking whether you're serious. On the inner side, the ridge rises into darker ground and the wall creates a calmer lane to walk, still high, still exposed, but with a kind of guidance built into it. You don't rush. You place each foot with care. The stones under you change texture from section to section, broad, flat blocks where the ridge is steady, uneven, patched places where builders wedge smaller stones like stitches. Your boots scuff faintly. That sound feels loud up here, not because it is, but because everything else is so quiet. Even your breath becomes a small event. Your hand touches the wall without you deciding to do it. The stone is cold, rough, and slightly damp in the seams, lichen freckling the surface in pale greens and chalky whites. You run your fingers along the edge and feel tiny imperfections, tool marks softened by centuries, gaps packed with grit, the honest evidence of hands doing hard work in hard air. You imagine hauling these stones up slopes, fitting them in wind, building a line where one mistake would slide and vanish into the valley. It makes your own tiredness feel smaller, not dismissed, just placed inside a longer story. The scenery keeps interrupting you. Far below, the valley spreads in layered darkness, and the river flashes faintly where starlight finds it. Distant hills fade into blue-gray haze. Even the horizon looks calmer from here, as if the world is less complicated when you can see the shape of it all at once. You understand, in a quiet bodily way, why a kingdom would choose cliffs. Anyone climbing toward you would arrive tired, visible, and loud. Up here, the mountain itself is an ally. You reach a narrow opening in the wall where the stone breaks into a passage. The moment you step through, the wind softens. Your shoulders drop a fraction, because your body recognizes shelter even when your mind wants to pretend it's fine. It's just a wall, but it changes the way fear behaves. It organizes it. It tells it where to sit. Dusk deepens. The stones shift from gray to near black, and the wall becomes a silhouette against the sky filling with stars. Ahead, a thicker rise in the masonry hints at a lookout point, darker than the dark around it. You can't see anyone there, but you feel the fort's attention anyway, like the structure itself is awake, patient, not dramatic about it. You keep walking along the rampart line, letting the curve of the ridge guide you. The wall bends with the mountain, never fighting it, never trying to straighten what can't be straightened. In some places it grows higher, in others it relaxes, as if even stone understands when the cliff is already doing the guarding. Your steps slow again where the path narrows. You don't need to tell yourself to be careful. The shape of the place does it for you. Then you reach a wider spot, a place where the stones flatten out and the ridge gives you a little room. You stop. You let the air fill your chest. You let your breath out slowly and feel the wind take it away. The fort stretches in both directions and disappears around folds of terrain, stitched to the mountain like it grew there. You notice small traces of use, corners worn where hands steady themselves, a smoother strip where countless feet have passed, a shallow dip where something heavy once rested. It's not a monument. It's a working idea. Stay. Watch. Endure. You stand there for a moment longer, letting the beauty of it settle without needing to squeeze it into a neat emotion. The wall holds you at the edge of the world without asking you to be brave. It just asks you to be present. And as the night fully arrives, you take another careful step forward, letting stone and wind and height guide you into the story, quietly, steadily, like you've been expected all along. You keep moving along the wall's spine, and the mountain keeps pretending it isn't doing anything special, just casually dropping away into darkness on one side, just casually lifting into rugged shelter on the other. The fort doesn't fight the terrain. It listens to it. It leans into ridgelines the way a smart traveler leans into a handrail. Not because you're weak, but because gravity is always ready to prove a point. The wall begins to curve more tightly now, following the ridge as it narrows. Under your boots, the stones change texture. Some blocks are broad and steady, others are smaller, wedged with care, like the builders were stitching gaps the way you might stitch a torn sleeve, patiently, repetitively, without any need for applause. You notice the wall thickening in places where the cliff is less sheer, as if it's compensating, wider shoulders where the mountain offers fewer natural defenses. Every few steps, you find little clues that this isn't just a scenic walkway. Along the inner side, there are low rises in the masonry, subtle, deliberate. They guide movement. They slow you down at the exact moments the landscape would encourage you to rush. It's a gentle kind of control, like the fort is saying, take your time, don't trip, don't give the night any free entertainment. And then you see it, your first true gate zone. It isn't a grand, showy entrance. It's practical. A narrowing in the wall funnels you toward a pinch point, where the ridge squeezes inward and the path naturally tightens. Stonework here feels more intentional, more layered, like the builder's anticipated hands pushing, bodies pressing, weather hammering, years repeating their weight. You notice shallow grooves and squared cutouts in the stone that hint at old timber beams once set into place. There's a seriousness to it. This is where the fort stops being an idea and becomes a decision. The passage bends, not straight through, but angled, so anyone entering must turn, must reveal their side, must slow. It's the kind of design that looks simple until you realize its weaponized geometry. You imagine the way defenders could see without being seen, could move with familiarity while strangers stumble in confusion. No need for drama. The ridge and the gate do most of the work. Beyond the gate, the wall rises again and becomes almost serpentine. It rides the ridgeline, cresting bumps and dipping into saddles, as if it's tracing the mountain's pulse. You look out and understand another quiet advantage. From here, sight lines open like curtains. Valleys, river paths, the faint suggestion of roads far below, routes that would matter to anyone trying to move an army, or a caravan, or even a rumor. The fort isn't only a shield. It's an eye. You pass a section where the wall's outer face is built especially clean, stacked with a kind of stubborn elegance. The inner face, by contrast, is more functional, packed, layered, reinforced. It's the difference between what you show the world and what you build for survival. A kingdom, like a person, learns quickly that appearances are nice, but structure is kinder. The wind slides up again, testing the parapet, slipping through small gaps. It's colder now, the kind of cold that doesn't bite so much as persuade. Your breath becomes visible in faint wisps, and for a moment you're grateful the wall gives you something steady to touch. You catch yourself running your palm along the stone as you walk, like you're borrowing balance from the past. A higher section appears ahead, something like a raised platform or a thickened bulge in the wall. Not flashy, not towering, but enough to feel like a deliberate node. From here, you can see the wall's logic more clearly. It's not built to be a straight line between 2 points. It's built to claim the best positions, knuckles of rock, narrow saddles, cliff edges that turn a simple barrier into a near impossible approach. The mountain is the main fortress. The wall is the stitching that closes the openings. You notice the way the wall uses drops as architecture. Where the cliff face plunges, the masonry relaxes, lower, thinner, almost casual, because the void is doing the guarding. It's oddly comforting, realizing how much of defense is simply knowing when you don't need to add more. Where the slope softens, the wall grows more serious again, thickening like a frown. A stretch of uneven stones forces you to slow. One block is slightly tilted, and your foot lands a little wrong. Nothing dramatic, just enough to remind you that this isn't a theme park. You steady yourself, inhale, exhale, and let your body recalibrate. The fort doesn't punish mistakes. It simply refuses to pretend mistakes are cute. As the path continues, you begin noticing subtle drainage channels, small slopes built into the surface, places where water can run off instead of pooling and freezing. You picture snow sitting heavy on these stones, meltwater seeping into cracks, the slow violence of frost. And still, the wall remains. That's not luck. That's planning. That's a builder standing on a ridge centuries ago and thinking, calmly, about seasons they will never live to see. Ahead, the wall folds into another choke point, this one tighter, more dramatic. The ridge narrows so sharply you feel the cliff on both sides, and the fort clamps down, guiding you through like a hand at your elbow. Your shoulders pull in without you deciding. You pass through the pinch, and the space opens again, and you feel your body loosen, almost grateful for the permission. By now, the stars are brighter, and the valley is nearly gone, only a black depth with a few distant, trembling lights. The wall line becomes your horizon, your steady thread in the dark. You don't need a map. The builders already drew your route for you, using ridgelines as ink and gates as punctuation. And as you continue, the fort teaches you its oldest lesson, that strength isn't always in height or thickness, but in choosing exactly where to stand, where the land itself agrees with you. You stay on the wall long enough that the night stops feeling like scenery and starts feeling like a job site. The ridge becomes a schedule. The stones cool under your palms, and your breath turns into small clouds that drift away as if they're trying not to disturb anyone. Ahead, the wall swells into a lookout platform, and the approach feels considerate, wider footing, a calmer inner edge, a place where you can stand without the cliff turning every step into a negotiation. From the platform, the valley opens in layered silhouettes. Far below, a river catches starlight in thin flashes. The fort isn't trying to be dramatic. It's trying to be early, seeing before being seen, listening before being surprised. The first lesson is that watchfulness is not a heroic pose. It's repetition. It's scanning the same slopes until your eyes stop chasing shapes and start noticing patterns. Where a deer path runs, where a stream bends, where a distant tree line breaks in a way it didn't yesterday. Up here, attention is a tool, and it works best when you don't treat it like a performance. Along the inner side, readiness sits in tidy piles. Firewood is stacked under a rough cover of plank and stone, lifted from damp ground. Kindling is bundled tight. A shallow, stone-lined pit waits near the edge, built to hold a contained flame. The fort speaks in hardware, not speeches. You picture the routine. A lookout arrives before full dark, not rushing, because rushing makes mistakes loud. They test the wood for dryness, clear old ash from the pit, and check the small stores tucked into a sheltered fold, rope coiled, cloth for shielding sparks, a sealed jar against moisture. Nothing glamorous, just the quiet logic of, if you need it later, prepare it now. And then the watch fires matter. Stories make it look simple. One flame becomes 10 and everyone magically understands. Real life is fussier. A flame on a mountain can mean accident, warning, or simply the human need for warmth. So the fort builds a language out of limits. How many fires, how long they burn, where they're placed, whether the light is steady or pulsing, how the smoke behaves when there's still a faint glow in the sky. The message has to be readable from far away, through wind and haze. Sometimes a signal is answered, not with words, but with repetition, a distant point on the ridge catching your light and returning it, confirming it was seen. That echo matters. Without it, a message is only a guess. With it, the wall becomes a living line, station to station, keeping each other awake. That consistency takes discipline. No improvising because you're bored. No extra flair because the night feels lonely. Your boredom is not a signal worth sending across a kingdom. Timing becomes meaning, a sustained burn for routine status, short, separated bursts for a wake-up, a longer urgent rhythm for movement. Plane survives panic. Wind complicates everything. It snatches sparks, pushes flames sideways, turns clean light into messy smoke, and cools surfaces while embers stay hot underneath. So you learn another unromantic truth. A watchfire is as much about containment as it is about visibility. A signal that scorches the hillside is, technically, a signal, but it's also an embarrassing confession that you confused urgent with reckless. You crouch by the pit and imagine the small tricks that make a fire behave on a ridge. A windbreak of stacked stone. Kindling arranged low and tight so it catches fast before gusts can bully it out. Thicker logs laid to burn long and steady, because a short blaze is useless if it dies before the next station sees it. Even the choice of what matters. Resin that flares too bright can mislead. Damp wood that smolders too thick can confuse. The fort's language is written in fuel. Behind the platform, tucked into a fold where the ridge offers shelter, you find the other half of readiness, stored life. Clay jars for grain, sealed and stacked. Dried foods bundled tight. A stone-lined catchment for rain and meltwater, because you can't guard a cliff on promises. There's also a small pile of repair stone. The wall isn't a monument, it expects weather to test it again. Time is kept without clocks. Stars become rough measurement. Wind shift becomes a cue. The way cold settles into your fingertips tells you how long you've stood still. Watch rotations have to be frequent enough to keep eyes sharp but steady enough to avoid confusion. Relief arriving quietly. Checks exchanged through habit, not chatter. A small problem arrives in the most ordinary way. Your hands stiffen, and you realize how easily clumsiness could ruin a message. You picture trying to strike a spark in gusting wind, smoke stinging your eyes, flame refusing to catch. The answer is boring and therefore effective. You lower your body, shield the first spark, build the core tight, and use the wall as a shoulder against gusts. When you finally let your gaze travel outward again, it's slow and methodical, like you're polishing the night. Nothing moves in the valley that you can see. And you understand the deeper point. The watch doesn't exist for the nights when something happens. It exists for the nights when nothing happens, when routine is the only thing keeping you from inventing threats, or missing real ones. You step down from the lookout platform feeling quieter, and you carry that mountain patience forward as you walk on. You leave the lookout behind and keep following the wall until the ridge softens into a more negotiable slope. The wind still reaches for you, but it has less authority now, as if it's tired of performing. Your shoulders unhook. Your steps get a fraction less careful. The fort remains above and beside you, steady, silent. But the path begins to hint that not all history lies on cliffs. The trail dips into a saddle where the mountain gathers its breath. Pines thicken. The air smells wetter, older, like soil that has been shaded for centuries. Underfoot, the ground changes from exposed stone to packed earth mixed with grit. You feel the difference in your knees immediately. Stone demands precision. Earth allows forgiveness, and your body accepts the gift without needing to comment on it. Ahead, you notice shapes that don't belong to the natural clutter. A low rise that's too smooth. A mound with a curve that feels intentional, like someone once edited the landscape with a careful hand and then walked away. There are stones set in a faint ring, half sunk, their edges softened by time. The fort guarded the living. This place, you realize, guards something else. You don't approach like a tourist. The night has trained you out of that. You approach like a guest. A small group of locals, quiet figures moving with the calm competence of people who don't need to announce themselves, appears along the path, not blocking you, not welcoming you with fanfare, just falling into step as if it's the obvious next thing. Their presence changes your posture. You lower your pace. You keep your hands where they can be seen. You let your gaze soften. In a world built on watchfires and gates, respect isn't a feeling, it's a practice. They guide you toward the mound by the safest route, where roots won't trip you, where the ground won't crumble under your weight. You notice how they walk sure-footed, economical, no wasted movement. Mountain people don't spend energy on looking impressive. They spend it on not sliding into a ravine. As you draw closer, the mound becomes clearer, a rounded hillock with a faintly flattened top, its surface covered in grass and low plants that have reclaimed it gently, like a blanket pulled up over a sleeping shoulder. The entrance area is not obvious, because it was never meant to be obvious. Tombs aren't built to invite casual curiosity. They're built to hold. The locals pause near a line of stones that looks like nothing until you see how straight it is. In the dim light, it marks a boundary, not a fence, not a barrier, but a reminder. You slow again. Your breathing drops another notch. Somewhere behind you, the fort's wind keeps moving, but it feels far away now, like the sea heard from inside a room. You step past the boundary with the careful patience of someone crossing into a different kind of space. The air changes. It's not colder exactly, it's steadier. Wind no longer combs your face. Sound dulls slightly, as if the world has wrapped itself in felt. You reach a narrow opening set low into the earth, stone-framed, modest, angled downward. The locals prepare the entry in the simplest, most practical way. They clear loose debris. They check the edges for crumbling. They do what people always do before entering somewhere that matters. They make it safe, and they make it respectful, without turning it into theater. A small problem shows up right on schedule, because mountains love to remind you that you are, at best, a temporary arrangement of balance and bones. Your foot slips on a patch of damp soil near the threshold. It isn't dramatic. You don't tumble. You don't fall into legend. But your heart spikes with that quick humiliation of almost becoming an avoidable accident. The locals steady you in the least embarrassing way possible. Not grabbing, not fussing, simply shifting the light and indicating a firmer foothold. They place a flat stone where the ground is slick, and suddenly the entrance feels less like a trap and more like a doorway. You exhale slowly. You pretend your foot didn't do that thing. The mountain pretends too, which is very kind of it. You bend and step into the passage. The shift is immediate and intimate. The smell changes first, earth, mineral damp, a faint tang like cold clay. Then the sound changes. Your footsteps become softer, swallowed by packed ground and stone. Your breath becomes loud. You become aware of your own body in a way open air never forces on you. Outside, you are a figure on a ridge. Inside, you are a pulse moving through darkness. The passage angles down, just enough to make you lean forward, and you keep one hand close to the wall. The stone is rough, cool, slightly wet in places. Your fingers pick up the texture. Tool marks softened by centuries, seams where blocks meet, small imperfections that prove this was built by hands, not magic. The locals move with an unhurried confidence. They know where to place the light so it doesn't glare back into your eyes. They know where the floor dips. They know where the air feels heavier. Their guidance is quiet, almost tender, the way you guide someone through your home at night when you don't want them to stub a toe. Then the darkness opens. The passage widens into a chamber, and the light falls across walls that are not blank. At first you only see color in fragments, an unexpected red, a softened green, a pale wash that might once have been brilliant. You step forward a little, and the murals begin to assemble themselves in your mind, like waking from a dream where the details arrive in slow focus. Painted figures stretch across the walls, shapes of people, animals, scenes arranged with intention. The ceiling curves above you like a low sky, and you realize that someone built a world down here, a second world meant to last, meant to surround the dead with meaning. It's not morbid. It's strangely warm, like the living couldn't bear to leave their loved ones with nothing but stone. Your eyes adjust further. You see borders, patterns, the suggestion of movement captured in stillness. Horse bodies arch mid-stride, sleeves flowing, guardians set in watchful postures. Even the empty spaces feel designed, as if silence itself is part of the mural. The locals keep you from stepping too close. Not by scolding, just by guiding your path along the safest line, keeping your light angled, keeping your breath calm. You realize the second small problem now. Your own awe is a hazard. Staring makes you drift. Drifting makes you forget your feet. So you anchor yourself, one slow step at a time, and let the chamber reveal itself without rushing. Outside, the fort taught you how to watch a valley. In here, the tomb teaches you how to watch a wall. And you keep watching, letting painted darkness hold you, steady, sealed, and strangely gentle. Your eyes adjust, and the chamber sharpens into detail. The surprise is not the darkness, it's the color. You are underground, wrapped in cool stone and sealed air, and yet the walls still hold reds that feel warm, greens that feel alive, and blacks that sit clean and sure, as if time tried to scrub them away and eventually gave up. The lamp stays low, angled so the light schemes rather than strikes. You copy the restraint. Here, brightness can be rude. You move slowly, letting your attention do what your feet used to do on the wall above. You tilt the light upward and meet the ceiling. It isn't a ceiling in the ordinary sense. It's a small, curved sky. Constellations dot the surface in careful clusters, and the points are placed with enough intention that your mind stops seeing random specks and starts seeing a map. Stars become routes. Routes become reassurance. Even here, under Earth, someone wanted the dead to have direction. Between the star groups, painted bands curl like cloud and wind. You remember the real wind on the cliff fort, how it climbed from the void and pressed itself against your face until your thoughts felt rinsed clean. This wind is silent and eternal. It makes the chamber feel less sealed, less final. Your gaze drops to the upper walls and finds guardians occupying corners and thresholds like watchmen who never sleep. A blue-green dragon coils along one side, its body bending with the wall. Across from it, a pale tiger crouches, stripes laid down with decisive strokes. Elsewhere, a red bird spreads wings stylized into flame. and anchoring another direction is a dark, heavy guardian, turtle-shelled, snake-tailed, holding the space with steady weight. They aren't painted to frighten. They are boundaries made visible. They turn the chamber into a protected zone, the way angled gates did above ground. Only here, the defense is symbolic, and somehow that makes it more intimate. Stone keeps bodies safe. Paint keeps meaning safe. You follow a borderline and nearly drift too close. Awe makes you float. The floor does not care. The locals guide you back with a subtle shift of the lamp, drawing your feet toward the safer path. You obey, because the last thing you want is to be remembered as the person who leaned in too hard. The mid-level bands unfold like a scroll. A procession moves across the wall, figures in layered clothing, sleeves and hems marked with rhythmic patterns. Some carry objects whose shapes you can't quite name but whose importance you can feel, ceremonial, handled with care. There are attendants and riders, a sense of rank conveyed by spacing and posture rather than loud decoration. Even the horses are painted with respect, necks arched, legs angled as if they're mid-step, held in motion by pigment alone. Then, tucked between the formal scenes, the everyday appears. A courtyard sketched in clean lines. Storage vessels. Stacked goods. Bodies bent to work with tools. It's a quiet miracle, seeing ordinary life treated as worthy of preservation. The tomb is not only saying that you mattered, it is saying that your days mattered. Your light drifts to a hunting scene and pauses. Riders sweep forward with bows, bodies angled in that mountain archer balance you're beginning to recognize. Hips steady, torso quiet, the whole posture built around not wasting motion. The horses look fast even in still paint, because the legs are drawn with that slight exaggeration that makes motion believable. You see the curve of a bow, the implied tension, the direction of pursuit shown by a tilt of heads and the flow of garments. Another panel suggests gathering and feasting, low platforms, arranged offerings, figures seated in order. There is no sound down here except your careful steps, but the painted gestures carry rhythm anyway, hands lifted, bodies angled, ceremony performed again and again in pigment. If the watch fires above organized alertness, these walls organize memory. The borders speak too. Geometric bands create order. Curved motifs soften edges. Everything is framed, as if the painter understood that whatever comes next should be navigable, beautiful, yes, but also structured. And then the smallest problem arrives, quietly, your own breath. The air is cool and still, and your exhale fogs the lamp at the exact moment you lean in, turning a sharp figure into a blur. You are literally breathing on history. You pull back, slow your breathing, and let it drop lower in your chest. The locals angle the light so it grazes the paint instead of striking it head-on. The image returns, crisp again. Nobody scolds you. The correction is gentle, which is the best kind. You begin to notice how the painter guides the eye. Important figures sit higher or are framed with stronger borders. Movement stretches horizontally, carrying you along. Still scenes settle into squares and rectangles, anchoring you. Near the lower portion, imagery simplifies, less crowded, fewer delicate flourishes. It's practical. Paint where the eye lives, conserve where damp will claim its tax first. And still, the colors refuse to die. People built walls on cliffs so life could continue. People painted tombs so meaning could continue. One protects the body, the other protects the story. You stand very still, letting the painted sky hover above you. The guardians hold their silent watch, and the procession carry you forward without sound. Outside, the mountain wind never stops. Inside, the murals keep moving anyway, patiently, like a dream that refuses to fade when morning tries to wake you. You leave the chamber the way you entered it, slowly, carefully, as if speed could be an insult. The passage feels narrower on the way out, not because it changed, but because you did. A painted world has a way of making the real one feel sharper, every route more deliberate, every gust more personal. When you step back into the night air, the cold meets you like a clean cloth on the forehead. Pines sway. The fort's ridge line is a darker line against a darker sky. You blink once, twice, and the underground colors linger behind your eyelids, reds and greens floating in the black, as if the tomb has stamped its palette into your mind. The locals remain nearby, not hovering, just present, like patient hosts who understand that you're processing something you can't quite name. They guide you away from the mound by a route that avoids loose soil and slick stones. The mountain is quiet now, but quiet mountains still demand respect. You place each step as if you're placing a bowl on a table without wanting it to clink. A small settlement sits in the lee of a slope where the wind is calmer. You don't see it all at once. You smell it first: wood smoke, grain, damp wool, the faint sweetness of something simmering. Then you see faint squares of lamplight behind rough walls. Roof lines sit low to resist weather. Everything here is built like it expects winter to return on schedule, and without apology. The hosts welcome you in the only way that matters. They make space. A cleared spot near a hearth. A low bench. A thick cloth laid down where you can sit without the cold creeping into your bones. No ceremony, no speeches, no dramatic declarations of hospitality, just quiet competence. It's the same mindset as the watch fires. If someone is here, make it workable. You notice the hearth first because it's the warm center of everything. A shallow fire burns with controlled steadiness, not roaring, not flaring, just holding heat like a promise. Smoke slips out through a vent in the roof, and the air inside is warm enough to soften your shoulders. Your hands hover near the heat, and you feel your fingertips return from numb to human. They offer food in simple forms: grain cooked into a thick, comforting porridge, dried vegetables rehydrated into something soft, a bit of salt and fermented sharpness that wakes your tongue without demanding attention. You eat slowly. The warmth spreads. The world stops being an edge. Around you, the settlement's rhythm continues. Someone checks a stored bundle of firewood, taps it for dryness, and shifts it closer to the hearth. Someone else hangs damp cloth near the heat, but not too close. Mountain people understand that you can ruin something by trying to fix it too fast. Another figure kneels by a jar, twisting a lid, checking the seal, and replacing it with a care that looks almost affectionate. Preservation here is not a hobby. It's survival turned into habit. You learn how water is handled, collected in stone-lined basins where rain and melt can pool, then carried in vessels that are made for balance rather than beauty. You watch someone lift a container with a practiced movement, back straight, knees bent, load settled against the body so it becomes part of the person instead of an enemy. You remember the fort gate's angled passage that forced the visitor to slow. These people have their own architecture of slowing down, every daily task designed to minimize waste and injury. Outside, the night wind pushes against the walls but can't get in. Inside, the sounds are soft, the crackle of controlled flame, the hush of movement, the occasional clink of pottery. The intimacy is not created by chatter. It's created by shared quiet. You're guided through small customs without needing them explained. Shoes are placed in a certain spot so mud stays contained. Food is served from a certain side so the flow is smooth. Tools are set down facing a certain direction so they can be found without fumbling in low light. Nothing is precious. Everything is deliberate. The fort above taught you to watch outward. Here you learn to watch inward, how people keep themselves steady when the world outside is steep and cold. A small problem arrives, almost comically minor compared to cliff forts and tomb guardians. Your clothes are damp at the cuffs from the tomb entrance and the night air. The damp isn't dangerous yet, but mountains don't need danger to make you uncomfortable. Your hosts solve it with the same practical calm they use for everything. A cloth is laid out. Your damp cuffs are warmed near the hearth at a careful distance, close enough to dry, far enough to avoid scorching. Someone adjusts the placement once, then leaves it, trusting time to do its job. As your clothes dry, you're led outside briefly to see how the settlement sits in relation to the fort. From this angle, the wall on the ridge looks less like a monument and more like a companion, silent, constant, a line that says, "We were serious about staying." The settlement is nestled where the fort can see it, and where the ridge can protect it. The land isn't just scenery here. It's a system. Back inside, you notice signs of horse care even here, tucked into corners, simple brushes, coiled straps, a piece of leather being softened near warmth. The horses are part of daily life, not a separate world. You'll meet them properly soon, but even now, you feel their presence like a muscle under the settlement's skin. Mobility, transport, training, prestige, survival. You sit again near the hearth. Your meal settles. Your breathing matches the room's pace. This place doesn't demand that you be impressive. It demands that you be present, careful, and quiet enough to learn. And in that calm, you realize the tomb murals didn't preserve only kings and ceremonies. They preserved this too, hands warming near a hearth, food shared without fuss, damp cloth dried with patient heat, a life made steady in the shadow of cliffs. The warmth of the hearth stays in your bones as you step back into the settlement's night air. Smoke unthreads quickly, shredded by cold and altitude, and the stars look a little too close, like you could bump your forehead on them if you forgot you're still on a mountain. Above, the fort line remains a dark stitch on the ridge. Behind your eyelids, the tomb's colors still hover, stubborn as a dream that won't fade. Your hosts guide you along a sensible path, packed earth, stones placed where mud would swallow ankles, turns chosen to avoid loose gravel. Pine scent sharpens, then another smell arrives, warm hide, hay, and clean leather. It reaches you before the horses do, like an honest announcement. The stable is tucked into the lee of a slope, built low and tight. Roof beams are heavy. Openings are narrow to keep wind from stealing heat. Straw covers the ground in a trampled, springy layer that holds warmth and muffles sound. In the dim light, the horses are shapes first, barrel chests, strong necks, legs planted like roots. Then they shift, and the shapes become bodies, compact, powerful, made for steep country. Their coats look dense enough to argue with frost. Their breath rises in slow clouds. Their eyes catch the lamp and reflect it back calmly, as if brightness is simply another kind of weather. You move the way you learn to move on the wall, slow, predictable, no sudden angles. One horse lifts its head, ears turning toward you with quiet precision. It doesn't flinch or perform. It simply decides you are worth noticing. Your hosts remain close, not controlling you, just arranging the space so everyone stays comfortable, including the animals, which is the sensible priority. Feeding happens without fuss. Hay comes first, dry and sweet, bundled neatly. Grain follows in measured portions, because mountain people don't gamble with supplies or stomachs. Water is carried in sturdy vessels and set where the ground is stable, where a hoof won't slip. Everything is positioned to be repeated, even when hands are cold and daylight is short. Grooming begins with patience more than tools. A brush moves in long strokes that follow the direction of hair and the curve of muscle. Dust lifts in faint puffs. The horse's neck lowers by degrees, as if trust is a dial you turn slowly. A cloth wipes sweat where tack would sit. Fingers check for burrs caught in the coat, for small irritations near the girth, for anything that could turn a long ride into a bad mood. Leather tack hangs where it can dry. Straps are run through hands and inspected for fraying. Buckles are tested with practiced pressure. A saddle blanket is shaken free of straw, then folded precisely, because the smallest fold becomes the biggest rub after enough miles. You're guided to place your palm on a horse's shoulder. The heat under the coat surprises you, steady and deep. Muscle shifts once beneath your hand, acknowledging you, then settles again. You feel breathing as a slow expansion and release, and without trying, your own breath starts matching it. The horse isn't soothing you on purpose. It simply exists steadily, and your tired nervous system learns from it. You notice the ordinary marks of work, worn patches where harness rubs, tiny nicks from brush and rock, hooves kept clean and trimmed so cracks don't start. Someone checks a leg with a brief, practiced touch, warmth at the joints, stiffness in the tendons, anything that says tomorrow might need an adjustment. It isn't sentimental. Its care is maintenance, which is often the truest kind. A small mistake finds you, because it always does, and it's better here than near a cliff. You drift a little too close behind a horse as it shifts its weight. The animal flicks its tail and stamps once, not aggressive, just clear. Your body freezes. Your pride tries to pretend this pause was spiritual. Your hosts guide you gently to the side, into the horse's line of sight, where your presence is readable. You change your angle. The horse relaxes again, and the moment passes without drama. Standing among them, you understand why these horses fit Goguryeo's world. Tall elegance is for flatter lands. Here, a trail can narrow above a drop, snow can harden into slick crust, and wind can steal warmth faster than you can complain about it. These horses carry weight without wasting it. They place hooves with confidence. They turn quickly on uneven ground. They keep going when the path feels like a question you answer with your whole body. The bond you're watching isn't built on constant reassurance. It's built on reliability. Humans bring shelter, water, feed, and calm handling. Horses bring movement, transport, speed, the ability to cross steep country as if it's simply another room in the same house. Each side honors the other by doing their part well. It's almost annoyingly sensible, which is probably why it lasts. You linger a moment longer in the stable's sheltered warmth, listening to straw shift under hooves, to slow exhalations, to leather creaking softly as straps are hung back in place. The fort above guards the ridge. The tomb below guards color and memory. And here, in a low-built fold of mountain night, these horses guard something immediate and precious. The power to move through steep land without being trapped by it. When you finally step away, your palm still remembers that steady heat, and your mind, heavy in the best way, accepts that history is not only walls and paint. Sometimes it is breath, muscle, and the patient presence of an animal waiting in the dark. You don't leave the stable immediately. You linger the way people linger near something that steadies them, pretending you're observing details, when really you're letting your nervous system borrow calm from warm hide and slow breathing. Your hosts, with their excellent talent for not embarrassing anyone, let you linger without comment. Then the lesson shifts, gently, from care to craft. They guide you to a clearer space near the stable, where the ground is packed and level enough to trust. A low ridge blocks some of the wind. The sky is still a deep, patient black, and the stars feel like quiet witnesses, non-judgmental, which is rare and therefore appreciated. You're shown the basics without speeches. A bow is presented, not as a trophy, but as a tool. The shape is compact, built for use from a saddle where long limbs would catch and snag. You don't need a lecture to understand the logic. Mountains reward anything that stays close to the body and does its job cleanly. You hold it, and the first thing you notice is tension. Not just in the string, but in your own hands. Your shoulders want to rise. Your grip wants to clamp. Your body has the unhelpful instinct to over-control, as if squeezing harder will create skill. It won't. You already know that from the fort wall. Tension makes you clumsy. Calm makes you accurate. Your hosts demonstrate posture with their own bodies, not with words. Feet placed under the hips. Knees soft. A spine that feels stacked, not stiff. The bow comes up smoothly, and the draw happens without drama, like the movement is simply part of breathing. The release is clean, and the arrow's path is more felt than seen. You try to imitate, and the second the string meets resistance, your muscles negotiate with each other. Your back tries to do the work, then your arms volunteer, then your wrists decide they're the main character. The bow politely refuses to reward chaos. So you slow down. You inhale. You let your shoulders settle. You place the bow's grip in your hands so it rests rather than fights. Your fingers hold the string with a gentle certainty, not a death grip. Your hosts adjust your elbow angle with a brief touch, just enough to align bone with force so muscle doesn't have to scream. It's the same principle as building a wall on a ridge, structure first, strength second. Then the saddle enters the lesson, because this is mountain horse archery, not a polite field sport. A horse is brought forward, steady, compact, and more interested in hay than in your learning curve. The saddle sits firm, and the tack looks functional, straps and buckles arranged to hold you secure without restricting movement. Your hosts check every piece the way you saw them check straps earlier. Calm hands, practiced eyes, no shortcuts. Mounting is done carefully, with an emphasis on not startling the horse and not wrenching your own body. You swing up and settle into the saddle, and immediately the world changes. Your height shifts. Your balance shifts. Your spine becomes the center of a moving platform, and your body realizes it can't cheat. On the wall, You had stone under your feet, honest, stable, unforgiving. In the saddle, everything is alive. The horse breathes. The muscles under you adjust with each tiny movement. And now your own calm matters, because animals read tension like it's a language. You feel your thighs grip too hard, and the horse responds with a subtle stiffness, like it's bracing for your indecision. Your hosts guide you, again, without fuss, into a softer seat. You let your weight drop through your hips. You stop pinching with your knees. Suddenly the horse's movement feels smoother, and you understand the simplest, most humbling truth. You don't control a horse by clenching. You communicate by balancing. Now the bow comes back into your hands. Drawing a bow on the ground asks for alignment. Drawing on a horse asks for alignment plus forgiveness. The horse moves under you. Your hands want to chase stability by freezing, but freezing turns you into a wobbling statue. The solution is to let the motion pass through you. You allow your body to move with the horse while your upper body stays quiet. Not rigid, quiet. Like a bowl of water carried carefully, the hands and arms stay steady, while the legs and hips absorb the sway. You attempt to draw. The string comes back a little uneven. Your wrist tries to angle. Your shoulders creep upward again. The arrow's tip wavers, and you feel the absurdity. You're a person trying to do precision work while sitting on a breathing animal in cold night air. Of course it's hard. That's the point. The horse is walked first, slow and steady. You practice raising the bow, drawing halfway, releasing without an arrow, just learning the motion without consequences. You match your breath to the horse's steps. Inhale on 2, exhale on 2. Your heart rate settles. Your hands become less eager to panic. A small problem arrives. Your grip slips slightly as the horse shifts and the bow tilts. It's not dangerous, but it's revealing. Your fingers were holding tight, but not correctly. Your host suggests your hand placement so the bow rests more naturally, letting the pressure sit in the right part of the palm. You try again, and the bow stays steady even when the horse moves. The fix is small. The effect is huge. Mountains love that kind of lesson. Finally, an arrow is knocked. The motion is delicate. The shaft meets the string. Your fingers settle. The arrow aligns. You keep your eyes soft, because hard staring makes you tense. You draw. You anchor. You release. The arrow flies. It doesn't hit anything spectacular. This isn't a montage, and you're not suddenly a legend. But it flies cleanly, and that alone feels like a quiet victory. The horse continues walking as if it didn't notice your personal milestone, which is rude but also deeply appropriate. You take another shot. Your form improves by a fraction. Your breathing stays steadier. Your shoulders remain lower. You begin to understand the rhythm, bow, saddle, breath. Each supports the other. If one panics, everything wobbles. If all three stay calm, the whole act becomes strangely silent. And that silence is the gift. In a world of cliffs and watchfires, a calm rider with a steady bow isn't just skilled. They're safe. They're reliable. They're the kind of person the wall can trust, the kind of person a settlement can sleep near. You dismount with care, offering the horse a gentle pat at the shoulder where warmth lives. Your hosts return the bow to its resting place like it's simply another tool, because to them it is. You carry the lesson in your body, not your head. Calm is accuracy. balance is control. Breath is the real rain. You sleep in the settlement like a stone that finally stops rolling, heavy, quiet, not trying to solve anything. The hearth's last warmth fades into the night, and the wind outside keeps doing its endless mountain work, but it can't reach you through thick walls and sensible building. Your body, still learning the shape of saddle and bow, unclenches in slow stages. Before dawn, you wake the way you wake on a mountain, not because you're refreshed, but because the air itself changes. Cold sharpens. Silence deepens. Somewhere outside, a horse shifts in straw, and the sound lands in your mind like a soft pebble dropped in water. You step out into a world rinsed clean. The sky is dark but thinning at the edges, the stars still pinned overhead, fainter now, as if they're getting ready to be replaced. You remember the painted ceiling in the tomb, how it held constellations and permanent patience, and you almost laugh at the contrast. Down there, stars never move. Up here, they retreat the moment the sun starts thinking. Your hosts are already moving. Not rush, just awake in that steady way that makes you feel slightly lazy even when you're trying your best. Gear is checked with small, practice motions. Leather straps are tightened and tested. A bow is brought out like any other tool. Horses are led forward, their breaths streaming in pale clouds that drift and vanish, as if even the animals are trying to be quiet. You mount again, and the saddle takes your weight without complaint. The horse under you is warm in the center and cold along the edges, like a living furnace wrapped in winter. You settle your hips, let your legs hang with softer contact, and try not to grip like you're afraid the ground might suddenly fall away. Because the truth is, it might. This is ridge country. Gravity has opinions here. You climb toward the training ridge on a narrow path that forces focus. Pine shadows stretch long. Frost glitters on stone. The fort wall above is a darker line against the paling sky, and for a moment it feels like you're riding toward that line as if it's a horizon you're allowed to touch. The first drill is simply getting there. Incline is not scenery, it's instruction. The path rises and rises, and your lungs begin the familiar negotiation. You breathe in, and the air feels thinner than it should, like someone diluted it just to see what you do. You breathe out slowly, let your shoulders stay low, and refuse to panic. Panic is a luxury flatland people can afford. At the top, the ridge opens into a long, uneven spine, wide enough for movement, narrow enough to keep you honest. Snow sits in shallow pockets where wind hasn't scraped it away. In exposed spots, the snow has crusted over into a slick, pale skin. The horse tests it with a careful hoof, choosing stability over speed without needing anyone to tell it what to do. Your hosts guide you into a training circuit that uses the ridge like a teacher. A straight run along the spine. A controlled turn where the ground dips. A short climb that forces power. A traverse across an angled slope where balance is everything. It's not just about shooting, it's about staying calm while the earth tilts. You begin at a walk, bow in hand, letting your body find the motion again. The horse's steps are steady, and you match your breath to them, keeping your attention soft. You raise the bow, draw halfway, and let it down again. No arrow yet. Your body learns the sequence without pressure. Bow up, shoulders down, breath out, settle. Wind arrives like a rude instructor, cutting across the ridge, tugging at your sleeves, pressing cold into your knuckles. You remember the watchfires and the way wind turned flame into a temper tantrum. Here it turns your aim into a moving target, whether you like it or not. An arrow is knocked. You draw. Your anchor point feels slightly different in the cold, your face tighter, your fingers less cooperative. The horse steps forward, and the world sways under you. You release. The arrow flies, and the wind takes it a fraction offline. Not by a lot, but enough to make the lesson clear. The mountain doesn't care what you intended. It cares what you managed. You try again. This time you wait for a lull, a tiny softening in the gust. You release into that brief calm. The shot lands closer. Not perfect, but more honest. The circuit continues, and the ridge keeps teaching. On the slight uphill, you feel the horse's effort as a deeper push through the hindquarters. Your own body wants to lean forward, to help, to overdo it. You resist. You keep your torso quiet and let the horse do what it knows. The moment you stop interfering, the motion smooths and your aim steadies. Then the snow crust problem finds you. You cross a pale patch where the surface looks firm but isn't fully trustworthy. The horse's hoof schemes slightly, just a quick slip, corrected instantly. But your stomach drops anyway, and your hands tense. The bow tilts. The arrow tip wobbles. Your body tries to clamp down. You fix it the only way that works. You exhale. Long, slow, almost exaggerated. You soften your knees. You let the horse regain rhythm without punishment. Your hosts don't react with alarm. They simply guide you back onto a safer line where stone grips better than crust. The mountain offers feedback. You accept it. Nobody dramatizes it. That's how you keep training from becoming fear. Thin air makes its own complaint as the morning brightens. After a few circuits, you notice your breath shortening, your chest wanting to hurry. Your head feels slightly light, like you've stood up too fast. It's not dangerous, yet, but it's a reminder that altitude quietly taxes everything. Your solution is boring and effective. You slow the pace. You take a moment on steadier ground. You breathe out longer than you breathe in. You let your heart rate settle before asking your body to perform precision again. When you resume, something clicks. Not dramatically, no triumphant music, sorry, but in a small, real way. Your hands stop fighting the bow. Your seat stops fighting the horse. Your breath stops fighting the air. The ridge turns from enemy to partner. Wind becomes something you time, not something you curse. Incline becomes something you respect, not something you resist. Snow crust becomes something you read with your eyes and your horse's feet, not something you pretend is fine. By the time the sun finally clears the far hills, the fort wall above catches light along its top edge, a pale line like a blade laid gently on the mountain. The valley below brightens in slow layers. Your fingers sting from cold, but your body feels strangely steady, tuned, not tense. You finish the circuit with one last controlled run, release one last arrow into the clean morning air, and let it go without trying to force meaning onto it. The practice itself is the meaning. The ridge teaches you that skill here isn't loud. It's quiet, repeatable, and calm enough that other people can sleep while you're awake. You turn the horse back toward the settlement, and for a moment you feel almost weightless, just a rider moving along the mountain spine, breathing slow, carrying the day like something gentle. You guide your horse down from the training ridge with that pleasantly heavy calm in your limbs. The settlement sits somewhere below, tucked into its sheltered fold. The fort wall above stays your quiet landmark, until it doesn't. Fog doesn't arrive like a storm. It arrives like forgetting. One moment the valley is layered blue and gray. The next, the layers smear and vanish, as if someone drags a thumb across wet ink. Pines become silhouettes. The wall line fades into a suggestion, then into nothing. Your horse keeps walking, ears forward, hooves placing themselves with the steady confidence of an animal that has done this before. You feel your mind do what it always does in reduced visibility, invent hazards from every pale shape. So you do what the fort taught you. You slow down on purpose. Your hosts guide you toward the wall's inner path where the ground is firmer, where stonework offers structure. You soften your seat, let your legs hang heavier, and drop your breath into an even rhythm. Inhale. Exhale. Again. The fog can blur distance, but it can't blur the sensation of your lungs filling and emptying, and that becomes your anchor. The wall reappears in pieces. First a low section, dark blocks emerging from white air like a shoreline. Then a taller rise. You slide your hand along the stone and feel rough certainty, seams, lichen, cool damp. Whatever the sky is doing, the fort still knows where it is. A gust pushes the fog aside for one brief breath, and you glimpse open space to the outer side, a cliff drop hidden under white. Your stomach tightens. Your hands tighten on the reins. Your horse stiffens in response, because horses read you like weather. You fix it immediately. You loosen your grip. You exhale longer than you inhale. You keep your shoulders low and your hips heavy. The horse settles, and the stiffness dissolves. In fog, tension travels fast. Calm has to travel faster. The problem isn't only sight. It's certainty. Every turn could be correct or wrong. Every break in the wall could be a gate or a gap. If you start guessing, you'll do what the watchfires warned you against. Send nonsense across distance and call it communication. So you switch to the fort's language of repetition. You begin noticing markers you ignored before. A broad, flat-topped stone that always sits on the inner side of a bend. A shallow drainage channel that crosses the path. Your hosts move from one feature to the next with the calm of people walking through their own kitchen in the dark. You match their pace, quietly counting steps between known points, not as superstition, but as structure for your attention. Sound changes too. The world feels padded. Hoofbeats are swallowed by damp air. But the fort offers small noises you can trust. Leather brushing stone, a buckle tapping, a hoof finding hidden rock. You remember the tomb chamber's still air and how your breath felt loud there. Fog does the same thing outdoors. It moves the world closer and makes you careful. Then comes the complication you can't muscle through, signaling. You remember the watchfire pit and the discipline of not improvising meaning. In fog, smoke is useless and an open lantern becomes a wandering mistake. Your hosts ready a covered light, shielded so it can be revealed briefly and hidden again. Flash, cover, wait. Short, clean shapes of light that won't be mistaken for a campfire or a problem. The first pulse disappears into the white almost instantly. Your chest tightens, craving confirmation. You keep it quiet. The reply arrives on the mountain schedule. A faint, answering blink somewhere ahead and slightly above, dim but distinct. An echo. A return. The line is awake. Now you stay with the wall like it's a handrail in a dark stairwell. You keep to the inner side, away from the hidden edge. You let the horse feel its way, trusting hooves over eyesight. You keep the pace to a steady walk, because speed in fog is just confidence trying to cosplay as intelligence. The ridge narrows at one point, and the wall pinches you inward, guiding you through. You remember the angled gate earlier, how it forced a visitor to slow and turn. Fog forces the same humility out of everyone. At the next bend, a pale shape looms suddenly, too tall, too close. Your horse startles with one sharp sidestep. Your heart jumps because of course it does. You drop your weight into the saddle, soften your hands, and breathe out slowly, letting the horse feel calm settle through your thighs. The shape resolves into a tree trunk coated in mist. Fog, once again, proves it has jokes. You continue. The wall rises and falls in familiar segments. Somewhere below, a faint sound cuts through the muffled world. Moving water, a river or stream holding its patient line. Valleys collect water. Water holds direction. You let your ears track it like a compass you can't see but can feel. Bit by bit, the fog loosens, like a fist unclenching. Pines regain edges. The wall becomes continuous instead of fragmentary. When the settlement's smoke finally appears, thin, pale, but honest, you feel relief settle into your ribs like warmth. You don't celebrate. Up here, celebration is loud, and loud is wasteful. You simply keep walking, grateful for the boring, brilliant things, a wall that guides, a horse that places its feet, a signal that doesn't lie, and your own breath, slow enough to keep fog from turning into disaster. You keep walking toward the settlement through thinning fog, and the world gradually remembers its own edges. The wall becomes a real line again instead of a rumor. Pines regain needles. Your horse's ears stop swiveling like frantic little weather vanes and settle forward with that calm, practical focus you've started to envy. And then, because mountains love timing, your pack decides it wants to become a separate life form. At first it's subtle, a soft shift behind your hip, a tug at one shoulder, the faint scrape of leather against wool. You think it's just you settling wrong in the saddle after the fog, the way your body stays braced even after danger has politely left the room. But the sensation repeats. A slower slide. A heavier pull. Like gravity is not only pulling downward now, but pulling specifically at your bag, personally, with a petty little grin. You reach back and feel it immediately. The strap is loosening. Not the dramatic kind of loosening that snaps and flings your belongings into a ravine. No, this is worse in its own annoying way. It's the slow betrayal of a buckle that's worked itself free, the steady creep of leather that's slick with damp. Your pack isn't falling yet. It's just migrating, inch by inch, toward the horse's flank, where it can rub, spook, and make everyone's morning unnecessarily complicated. You slow the horse at once. Because you learned that already, speed turns small problems into big ones. Your hosts guide you to a stable patch of ground near the wall's inner side where the stones keep the footing honest. You dismount carefully, keeping your movements predictable so the horse doesn't interpret your irritation as incoming chaos. When you inspect the strap, the issue becomes clear. Damp has softened the leather. The buckle tongue is still intact, but the hole it's sitting in has stretched slightly, just enough to slip under repeated motion. It's not broken. It's simply too confident about its ability to hold. You feel the temptation to force it, tighten harder, pull until it squeals, pretend brute strength is craftsmanship. The fort wall would laugh at you. The watchfires would roll their eyes. You choose the wiser, boring option. Rebuild the hold with something that doesn't rely on one stressed hole of damp leather. Your hosts already have solutions in motion, because of course they do. Mountain people don't react. They reach for cordage, for spare leather, for the small things kept on hand precisely because fog and damp and gravity are predictable enemies. A coil of cord appears, thin but tough, likely plant fiber or twisted hair, the sort that grips when wet instead of becoming a slippery lie. Someone offers a strip of spare leather too, not as a replacement strap, but as a reinforcement, something to spread pressure across a wider surface so the buckle isn't doing all the work alone. You set the pack down on a flat stone, away from mud. Your fingers are cold and slightly stiff, and you can feel how clumsiness wants to creep in. So you slow your hands the way you slowed your breath in the fog. The goal is not to be fast. The goal is to be correct. First, you reset the strap to its best position, tight enough to hold, not tight enough to tear. Then you add the reinforcement. The spare leather strip goes under the buckle area, creating a thicker bite point. Immediately, the strap feels less flimsy. It's still damp, but now it has structure. Then comes the knot work, the quiet science that keeps people alive and packs attached when the world tilts. You thread the cord around the pack frame and through a stable point on the saddle rigging, somewhere designed to take load. Not the flimsy decorative loop that looks helpful but exists only to disappoint you. A real anchor point. You tie a simple, reliable knot that holds tension without slipping. Nothing fancy. The kind of knot you can untie with cold fingers later. You keep the cord snug, but you don't crank it like you're trying to crush the saddle. You want security, not strangulation. The pack is steadier now, but one side still wants to sag slightly when you lift it. The problem is distribution. The load inside has shifted during the fog walk. Heavy items have settled to the outer edge, and the pack is trying to rotate around them like a lazy planet. So you open it, just enough to rearrange without spilling your life into the dirt. Your hosts help by holding the bag steady while you shift weight toward the center. Heavier items closer to your spine line, lighter things outward. You compress soft items so they don't slosh. You tuck anything loose into a tighter bundle. You're basically building a miniature fort inside your pack, structure and stability instead of hopeful stacking. There's a small moment where your fingers fumble the cord end, and it flicks away, trying to hide like a shy snake. Your irritation rises, quietly, privately. You take a slow breath and let it pass. The mountains don't punish you for being human. They punish you for being hurried. You retrieve the cord, rethread it, and secure the end with another neat tie so it won't unravel mid-ride. When you lift the pack again, it sits with a new firmness. Not rigid, not awkward, just stable, like it understands its job now. You give it a gentle shake, testing it the way you test a foothold. It doesn't slide. It doesn't twist. It behaves. You mount again, and the difference is immediate. The horse moves, and the pack stays quiet. No rubbing. No shifting weight. No slow motion attempt to base jump into the valley. Your body relaxes a fraction, and you feel a small gratitude that's oddly tender, not for heroics, not for triumph, but for competent problem solving in cold air with stiff hands. As you set off, you glance at the wall, dark stone against the lighter morning, still doing what it has always done, holding a line, guiding movement, turning uncertainty into something manageable. You smile a little, because it's absurd how similar everything is. Walls, murals, saddles, straps, knots. All of it is just humans refusing to let time and weather and gravity have the final word. You ride on toward the settlement, pack secure, breath slow, letting the morning stay calm and unforced. Like a good story that doesn't need to shout to be remembered. With your pack finally behaving like it has learned manners, you ride toward the settlement's sheltered fold. The fog has mostly lifted, but the air remains damp, and that dampness carries a certain warning, quiet, practical, not dramatic. Mountains don't announce storms with speeches. They change the feel of the world and let your body do the noticing. Your hosts steer you away from the settlement at first, up a gentler slope toward the tomb hill again. Not to re-enter the chamber. Today the painted darkness can rest. But to check the site, the way you check anything important after weather shifts. A tomb isn't only an artifact. It's a structure. And structures, as the fort has taught you, deserve attention. The hill sits under a sky that has turned heavier. Clouds thicken in layers, low and gray, moving fast enough to make you feel like the world is being rearranged overhead. Wind pushes through the trees in broad gusts. Pine needles whisper and then hiss. Your horse's ears flick back and forth, reading the air. The animals understand storms without needing to see lightning. Then the first hard drops arrive, cold, sharp, scattered. They hit stone with tiny taps and strike your face like needles. The rain doesn't build politely. It comes in pulses, as if the clouds are testing your seriousness. Your hosts move immediately, not panicked, just purposeful. You dismount and guide the horse to a sheltered spot where trees break the wind. Leather tack is checked and tightened so it won't flap. Loose cloth is tucked. The pack strap you just fixed is inspected again, because storms love to expose lazy work. The tomb mound begins to darken as rain soaks the grass. Water runs in thin lines down its curve. A streamlet starts forming along a shallow groove near the entrance area, and you understand why this matters. Water is patient. It will work its way into gaps, soften earth, and make tomorrow's footing a quiet problem. The storm strengthens fast. Wind shoves the rain sideways, turning drops into a cold sheet. The ridge above disappears in gray. Somewhere far off, thunder mutters, not close enough to be terrifying, just close enough to be a reminder that the sky has muscles. Your hosts guide you toward a low shelter, stone and timber, built for exactly this kind of weather. It's not fancy. It's a lean-to position behind a rock outcrop, angled so wind slides past instead of slamming in. Inside, the air is calmer. The sound of rain becomes louder, drumming on wood and stone like a steady pulse. You huddle in with the horse nearby, head lowered, breath steaming. Your hands are cold again. Your sleeves begin to dampen at the edges. The storm has that particular cruelty of making you feel both soaked and thirsty at the same time. And now, because life enjoys being inconvenient, another small problem shows up. The covered lamp you carry for low light gets damp enough that its flame becomes unstable. Not out, but flickering. That means you can't rely on it if you need to move quickly, And you definitely don't want to fumble with fire and wind-driven rain near dry wood. Your hosts solve it with the same calm you've seen all along. They shift the lamp deeper into shelter, away from the draft. They use cloth to dry the casing and protect the wick. They adjust the flame low, small enough to survive, bright enough to remain useful. It's not magic. It's experience. Outside, water gathers and runs. You watch the tomb hill with a new kind of respect. You realize that preservation isn't only about guarding against people. It's about guarding against weather that never stops returning. The fort's drainage channels suddenly seem like genius again. Here too, the builders anticipated rain and melt, shaped slopes, laid stone, and tried to keep water from winning too easily. The storm peaks in a hard, cold rush. Wind tears through tree branches. The rain thickens. For a moment, you wonder if you'll be stuck here for hours. Your mind starts to spin. What if the entrance area erodes? What if the path back becomes slick? What if lightning hits the ridge? What if? You cut that off with breath. Slow in. Long out. Again. The sky can be chaotic without you joining it. Your hosts wait. Waiting is part of their skill. They watch the gust patterns, feel the shifts, and recognize the tiny signs of easing that someone less trained would miss. A slight change in rain angle, a fraction less violence in the wind, a brief thinning of the gray in one direction. When the storm finally begins to loosen, it does so without apology, just slowly backing away. The rain turns from sheets to steady drops. The wind becomes less insistent. Thunder fades into distant mutters. Your hosts move quickly now, not rush, but efficient. They step out and check the ground near the tomb entrance. They clear small debris carried by runoff, twigs, loosened pine needles, bits of leaf. They place a couple of flat stones where the soil has softened, creating firmer footing so tomorrow's steps won't carve deeper ruts. You help where you can, lifting small stones, setting them with care, smoothing a channel so water continues to flow away from the entrance rather than pooling. It's simple work, but it feels oddly sacred. Not in a dramatic way, more in the quiet way of doing maintenance on something you respect. You can't control storms. You can control how you respond after they pass. When you finally head back toward the settlement, your clothes are damp but not soaked, your hands are cold but functional, and your mind is calm again. The tomb hill behind you looks darker, slick with rain, but still whole. The fort ridge above is hidden in cloud, but you feel its presence anyway, a line of stone holding steady while weather does what weather always does. And you carry the storm's lesson with you, that endurance is often just a series of small, careful choices made in bad weather, without needing anyone to clap. You ride back into the settlement's lee with damp clinging to you, cuffs, collar, the seams where fabric folds and decides to store weather for later. The storm has eased, but the air still feels thick, as if the mountain is slowly exhaling water. Underfoot, the ground gives a soft squish, and you accept the obvious truth: bad weather doesn't only pass, it leaves chores. Inside the low shelters, the aftermath is practical and quiet. Straw near the doorway is flattened and wet. A few firewood bundles have pulled moisture up from the ground. Leather tack hangs with the wrong kind of slack, softened by rain. Nothing is ruined. Everything is slightly out of alignment, which is how storms like to depart. Your hosts move through the space the way they move through the fog, calm, economical, feature to feature. They begin with the simplest rule: dry what must be dry, secure what must be secure, and put the world back where it belongs. You help, because watching competence is soothing but also mildly embarrassing. Firewood comes first. Damp pieces are separated from dry ones, not for neatness, but because wet wood is a liar. It smokes, it sulks, it steals time. You bring the damp ends closer to the hearth, but not too close, warmth, not scorching. Dry wood is stacked higher on flat stones so air can move underneath, crossed and space to breathe. Cloth follows. Blankets, wraps, saddle pads, anything that touched rain gets shaken, then hung where heat drifts rather than blasts. You find the best drying line along a side beam, where warm air rises and slides past like a tide. The room fills with the soft smell of wet wool warming, and your shoulders loosen, because the message is clear: you're back inside safety. Leather gets careful attention, because leather remembers. Tack is wiped down, then flexed gently so it dries without turning brittle. Buckles are checked, holes inspected for stretch, and you think of your pack strap trying to sneak away earlier in slow motion. The cord reinforcement still holds, but you loosen tension while things dry so the leather isn't pulled tight as it shrinks. Boring. Sensible. The kind of decision that saves you tomorrow. Outside, runoff has carved thin channels in the paths, guiding water the way the ford's drainage grooves guide melt. You step out and shape them, not erasing flow, just directing it so it won't cut deeper. Stones are nudged to edge the walkway. Near the doorway, you scatter grit for traction, because slick ground waits patiently for tired ankles. Back inside, the hearth becomes the settlement's center of repair. A pot simmers, grain and salt, warmth that doesn't ask you to be heroic. Steam softens the air. You hold your hands near heat until your fingertips stop stinging and start feeling human. The fire doesn't perform. It simply holds, steady as the wall line you trusted in fog. Mending begins in the same quiet rhythm. A seam loosened by wet is stitched back with small, neat passes. A strap end is retied and trimmed so it won't fray. A loose peg in the shelter frame is tapped back into place with careful force. Nothing is thrown away if it can be made reliable again. You feel the philosophy land gently. Survival isn't a mood, it's maintenance. Then comes reordering, the understated ritual of putting tools back exactly where hands expect them. Cord is rewound. Small implements are wiped and set down facing the same direction. Containers are resealed and stacked with a breath of air between them so damp doesn't get trapped. It looks like tidiness, but it's really kindness toward your future self, the one who will be cold, sleepy, and less patient. You still feel the storm's leftover restlessness, the urge to replay the slick step at the tomb entrance, the lamp's flicker, the ridge hidden under gray. So you copy the locals. One simple action at a time. Fold. Stack. Wipe. Place. Each completed task drains nervous energy the way a channel drains runoff, quietly, steadily, without needing a speech. When the air finally shifts, less damp, slightly clearer, you notice the whole settlement change with it. Smoke rises straighter. Wood smells cleaner. Even the horses, nearby and half dozing, seem to exhale longer. The crisis, if it deserves that word, is over. What remains is steadiness returning, piece by piece. A small rite follows, not announced, not decorated, just done. Hands pause near the hearth. A few grains are returned to the fire, not as waste, but as acknowledgement. Weather can take. Weather can spare. Gratitude doesn't need volume, it needs consistency. Later, you step outside and look toward the tomb hill. The mound sits darker after rain, its curve glossy in faint light. Somewhere above, the fort wall exists whether you see it or not, holding its line against cloud the way painted guardians hold corners underground. You realize the same discipline runs through everything here. Keep tools where they belong, keep paths safe, keep people warm. You return to the hearth, settle near the drying gear, and let your breathing slow until it matches the room. Today has been whirlwind and fog, straps and storms, and through it all the same lesson returns like a soft refrain. Endurance is maintenance. You don't survive because you are fierce. You survive because you keep fixing the small things before they become sharp. You return to the tomb hill in air that feels rinsed and slightly thinner, as if the storm took some weight with it when it left. The ground still holds moisture, but it's no longer slick in that sneaky way. The stones you placed yesterday sit firm, doing their quiet job, exactly like the wall's drainage grooves up on the ridge, exactly like the cord knot holding your pack strap in place, exactly like the hearth holding warmth without making a scene. Your hosts lead you again, not with ceremony, but with those small, efficient choices that keep ankles intact. You follow the same boundary line you noticed before, the straightness that looks like nothing until you realize it's deliberate. You step past it with the same careful respect, and the world changes again. Wind softens, sound dulls, your own breath becomes the loudest thing you carry. The entrance is darker now, damp stained around the stones, but the structure holds. You crouch and move inside, one hand near the wall, fingers feeling seams and rough tool marks. The passage is cool and steady, and for a moment it feels like the earth is lending you its patience, slow, unbothered, almost annoyingly consistent. The chamber opens, and the murals meet your lamp with that stubborn refusal to fade. They look different now, not because the paint changed, but because your eyes did. The first time, you saw beauty and strangeness, color and darkness, guardians and corners, a ceiling sky that never moves. Now you see logistics. You see design choices. You see how the underground world is built to behave. Your light schemes the ceiling again, and the constellations feel less like decoration and more like orientation. You think of the night on the wall, how stars helped you hold time without clocks. You think of the fog and how the mountains stole your distance. Down here, the stars are fixed on purpose. No fog can erase them, no weather can smudge them. Someone wanted the dead to have the one thing fog threatens first: direction. You let the lamp fall to the corners and greet the guardians again, but this time you notice their placement like you notice gate angles. They anchor thresholds. They define edges. They make the chamber legible. Above ground, the fort uses ridge lines and pinch points. Here, paint uses corners and frames. Same instinct. Different medium. You move along the walls at a pace that feels almost comically slow, but slow is how you avoid becoming a cautionary tale. Your feet stay on the safer line, your shoulders remain relaxed, and you keep your breath low so you don't fog your own view again. You remember that brief moment of exhaling onto the lamp and turning history into blur. You don't repeat it. You're learning. That's nice. Then the details start arriving, small, precise, and suddenly obvious. In one hunting panel, the rider's posture looks exactly like what you practiced on the ridge. Hips steady, torso quiet, the upper body calm while the lower body absorbs motion. You see the same economy in the painted horse, compact strength, legs placed for terrain rather than for elegance. It's almost unfair how clearly it connects. The stable's warm breath, the brushing, the tack checks, then here, the same world translated into pigment, as if daily care has been lifted into permanent meaning. You notice tack details that once would have been background. Straps crossing a chest. The suggestion of a saddle blanket edge. The way a rein is held, not clamped, but managed. You think of your own hands tightening in fog and how the horse stiffened under you, because animals do not tolerate human panic politely. The painted riders look calm. That calm is not artistic fantasy. It's training. It's survival. It's what lets someone shoot without wobbling when the ground tilts. Another section shows what looks like storage and work, containers, stacks, orderly arrangements. Yesterday, you watched jars being checked and resealed in the settlement, lids twisted with quiet care. You watched damp cloth hung where heat drifts, not blasts. Now you see the same mindset echoed in the murals, life as systems, not chaos. Even the way objects are arranged in paint suggests someone cared about where things belong. It isn't just culture. It's the relief of knowing your tools will be where your hands reach in the dark. Your lamp catches a border pattern, and you pause on it longer than you would have before. Repetition, geometry, framing. It's the visual version of the wall stone stacked in patient layers. The fort holds a line against gravity. The border holds a line against the eye wandering. Both are containment. Both are kindness. A small problem shows up in the most predictable way possible. Damp air in a sealed chamber starts to haze your lamp cover again, softening the light. The image loses crispness at the edges. It's subtle, but you notice immediately, because now you're trained to notice small shifts before they become big ones. You adjust the lamp lower and angle it so it grazes the wall instead of shining straight on. You wipe the casing with a dry cloth, then hold it still long enough for the air around it to settle. The haze clears. The figures sharpen. You feel absurdly proud of yourself for managing moisture like a competent adult. The mountain would be proud too, if it ever did praise, which it doesn't. As you continue, you start linking scenes across worlds in your mind without forcing it. Watch fires above, stars below. Gate angles, guardian corners. Drainage channels, border lines. Storm repair, painted permanence. Even your pack strap's little betrayal feels connected. Everything that survives does so because someone noticed the stress point and reinforced it before it failed. You stand beneath the painted sky one more time and let your breath slow until it barely moves the air. The chamber feels less like a museum now and more like an instruction. This is how you want the world to treat you after you're gone. Not with loud grief, not with messy panic, but with order, color, direction, and a steady kind of care. When you step back toward the passage, you glance once more at the riders and horses painted mid-motion, frozen forever in disciplined calm. You carry that calm with you, the way you carry hearth warmth on your palms after holding them near the fire. Outside, weather will return again. Fog will try again. Straps will loosen again. But the solutions are already here. written in stone, practiced in bodies, and painted quietly onto walls that refuse to forget. You come back out of the tomb passage and the mountain air meets you like a clean page. The sky is brighter now, the clouds thinned into higher streaks, and the ridge line is visible again, sharp, serious, and quietly smug about how easily it can make you feel small. The fort wall sits up there like a dark seam, and for a moment you imagine the painted constellations still hovering under your eyelids, fixed and calm, while the real stars have already walked off to wherever daytime hides them. Your hosts don't rush you. They let you re-enter the open world in slow increments, the way you let your breath settle after a steep climb. The path back toward the training ridge is damp but stable, and the stones you place near the tomb entrance still hold their little promise. You can fix things without needing to conquer them. A horse is brought forward, compact, steady, more reliable than your strap buckle on a damp day. The tack has dried and been checked, every buckle tested, every strap laid flat where it should be. You notice the thoroughness now the way you notice a well-fitted stone in the fort wall. No gaps, no lazy assumptions, no, it'll probably be fine. Mountains punish. Probably. You mount and settle into the saddle with a softer seat than you had on your first night. Your thighs don't clamp. Your shoulders don't creep upward. You let your weight drop and your breath lengthen, and the horse accepts you like a familiar routine instead of a question mark. The bout comes into your hands, and you feel the difference from earlier too. Not because you suddenly became a legend, but because your body has learned the sequence. Structure first. Strength second. Calm always. You knock an arrow without fumbling and almost feel tempted to celebrate, but you keep it quiet, like the watchfires taught you. No improvised signals. No unnecessary drama. You ride up toward the skyline where the ridge narrows and the fort wall becomes a presence again. The path climbs in a steady grade, and the valley opens below in that wide, patient way that makes your mind want to wander. You don't let it. Your attention stays close, like your hand on stone in fog, like your lamp angled low in the tomb. At the ridge top, the world looks freshly washed. Pines stand darker against pale sky. Distant hills layer into soft blue-gray. The fort wall catches light along a few upper stones, and it looks less like ruin and more like intent, still holding its line, still refusing to be casual. This is your last run along the skyline, and it isn't announced as a finale. It just arrives, the way endings usually do, quietly, without a drumroll, while you're still paying attention to small things. Your hosts guide you into position along a ridge stretch that feels both exposed and strangely safe, because the wall is there on the inner side, and the horse beneath you is steady. The course is simple, a controlled canter along the ridge spine, a gentle curve, a release point where wind is usually calmer, then a measured slowing near the wall's thicker section. No heroic sprint. No reckless showing off. Just a clean marriage of skill and landscape. You begin at a walk, letting the horse read the ground. Then a trot, light, rhythmic, your hips absorbing motion instead of fighting it. You breathe in for 2 beats, out for 2 beats, and it's almost soothing, like the horse is rocking you towards sleep while you hold a weapon. History is full of contradictions like that. You shift into a controlled canter. The horse's stride lengthens, and the ridge flows beneath you in a steady pulse. Wind brushes your cheeks, not as rude as it was on the first night, but still present enough to keep you honest. Your bow hand stays quiet. Your shoulders stay low. You feel your spine stacked, your seat stable, your legs acting like springs, and you understand the riders on the tomb wall a little more. How calm can look like stillness even when everything is moving. You raise the bow. The first draw happens smoothly. You anchor, exhale, and release. The arrow flies. You don't track it with desperate intensity. You let it go the way you let your breath go. The horse continues forward unbothered. The ridge continues being a ridge. The world doesn't pause to applaud, which is deeply on brand for mountains. You knock a second arrow while moving. Your fingers do it with less argument now. You draw again and feel a small, quiet alignment, bow, saddle, breath. Above you, sky. Beside you, stone. Below you, a valley that would punish carelessness with a shrug. Then the small problem arrives, because of course it does, right on schedule, like weather. A gust curls around the ridge at the curve point, sharper than expected, and it pushes against your sleeve at the moment you're anchoring. Your arrow tip wavers. Your hand tightens instinctively. For half a heartbeat, you can feel panic trying to climb into your shoulders, the same way fog tried to turn shadows into threats. You do not let it. You lower the bow slightly. You don't release into a wobble just to prove you're brave. You slow your exhale and let it extend, long enough to drain tension out of your wrists. You soften your fingers. You wait, one stride, two, until the gust passes into something calmer. And when you raise the bow again, your movement is quieter, more deliberate, like you're placing a stone in a wall. You release. The arrow flies cleaner, truer. Not perfect. Nothing human stays perfect in mountain wind, but honest. And that honesty feels like the whole point. You didn't defeat the wind. You negotiated with it. You listened. You respected its timing, the way your hosts respected storms by waiting, the way watchfires respected distance by speaking in disciplined patterns. As you near the thicker section of wall, you guide the horse into a measured slowing. The canter softens to trot, then walk. Your heart rate stays steady. Your breath stays low. You feel something settle in your chest that's hard to name, part relief, part gratitude, part quiet pride that doesn't need to be loud. You glance toward the fort wall, close enough now to see individual stones again. Lichen. Seams. The same patient stacking you touched on your first night. And you think of the tomb chamber beneath earth, of paint refusing to fade, of constellations pinned in permanent calm. You think of the settlement hearth, the drying cloth, the strap reinforced with cord, the storm handled with steady hands. All of it, stone, pigment, leather, breath, held together by the same habit, attention. You lean forward slightly and rest your palm on the horse's shoulder as you walk. Warmth under dense coat. Slow breath. Reliable motion. The horse doesn't know it carried you through history, but it carried you through a ridge run without turning it into a problem, and that's enough. You ride back toward the settlement with the fort at your side and the valley below, and the world feels briefly aligned, skill matched to land matched to story matched to a calm body that finally understands how to move without fighting everything. You don't need to make it bigger than it is. You just let it be. You leave the settlement before the sun climbs too high, not because anyone is chasing you away, but because mountain goodbyes work best when they happen early, while the air is still crisp and your mind is still quiet. The hearth is calm behind you, the drying lines are empty, and the leather smells clean again. Your pack sits firm on your back, still reinforced with that stubborn little cord, as if it finally understands that sliding away in slow motion is not charming. Your hosts guide you uphill toward the fort's cliff gate. They don't hurry you. They simply choose the safest line and let you fall into the same steady pacing that got you through fog, one reliable step after another. Pines thin as you rise. Wind grows sharper. The sky looks washed, as if the storm used the night to rinse everything down to essentials. The fort wall appears gradually, first as a straightness that shouldn't exist on a mountain, then as a stitched line of stone riding the ridge's shoulder. You recognize the places where the wall thickens, where it relaxes because the cliff itself does the guarding, where the path narrows and forces your shoulders in. The gate zone shows itself again in angles and restraint, a pinch point, an angled passage, a design that makes you slow down and turn. You step into the entry and feel the wind soften, like stone is taking the edge off reality. Your hand finds the wall without thinking. The surface is cold, rough, lichen-speckled, and familiar enough now that your body trusts it. You follow the inner lane, away from the drop's hidden appetite, and let your breathing sink low, the way you did when fog tried to erase the world. At the gate's thickened stones, you pause and look outward. The valley spreads below in layered distance, river threading through it like a quiet promise. You don't feel triumphant. You feel placed. The fort was built for this kind of gaze, seeing far without drifting away from your own feet. You imagine a lookout standing here, not heroic, just consistent, scanning slopes until patterns become readable. You imagine stacked firewood under cover and a stone-lined pit waiting for a controlled flame, not performance, just clarity. The network feels real to you now, not as legend, but as care, signals kept disciplined so meaning can travel, rotations kept steady so tired eyes don't start inventing threats. That single answering blink in the fog returns to you, the moment the mountains seem to exhale, relieved that communication still worked. And underneath that, deeper than the ridge, the tomb chamber holds its own kind of wakefulness. You remember the painted ceiling sky, stars fixed so weather can't steal them. You remember the corner guardians holding thresholds the way this gate holds the ridge. You remember riders painted mid-stride, horses compact and calm, sleeves flowing forever in silence. It doesn't feel like darkness now. It feels like a promise that life can be framed, kept, and carried. You inhale and feel altitude fill your chest like cool water. You exhale longer than you inhale, letting tension drain the way runoff drains when you place stones in the right channel. Your mind flicks through the small troubles you met here, not to relive them, but to honor how gently they taught you, the fog that forced you to trust stone and sound, the storm that demanded patient waiting, the lamp that steadied when you angled it low, the pack strap that tried to betray you until you rebuilt its hold with cord and calm hands. None of it was grand. All of it mattered. Your hosts give you space for a quiet goodbye. They stand nearby with the calm of people who understand that endings should be simple. You press your palm flat against the wall one more time, feeling the chill in the seams, as if sealing a small agreement with the past. You were guided, you were kept, you passed through without being swallowed by cliff or weather or your own clumsiness. Then you turn. The gate makes you pivot, the narrowing makes you slow, the ridge insists you pay attention until the last step. On the far side, wind returns, brushing your face with cool honesty. It doesn't feel hostile. It feels like a reminder to keep breathing properly, to keep your pace steady, to keep your grip gentle on whatever you hold, rain, bough, lamp, or thought. You walk down until the wall is no longer beside you, only above you, and then only behind you. Yet it doesn't vanish. It stays as a line your hand can still remember. It stays as the rhythm of a horse's stride under your hips. It stays as the calm of wood stacked dry, tools set down where cold hands can find them, signals kept clean and readable, repairs done without drama. By the time the settlement smoke is only a thin thread and the tomb hill is only a smooth mound, you realize the farewell is already complete. The mountains have given you their gentle rules, and you're carrying them out with you. Breathe slow, walk steady, fix the small things before they sharpen, and don't mistake noise for strength. You take one last look back at the cliff gate, just a dark notch in a vast ridge, and you let yourself feel a quiet tenderness for everyone who once stood there, listening to wind, watching valleys, trusting stones, and believing that attention can outlast a lifetime. And now you let the mountains drift farther away, not in distance, but in volume. The ridge line softens in your mind until it becomes a simple shape, like a folded blanket against the sky. You keep moving, but the effort feels lighter, because you're no longer carrying alertness like armor. You're carrying it like a small tool, tucked where you can reach it when you need it, and left alone when you don't. You remember the wall under your palm, cold stone, rough seams, steady weight, and you let that steadiness spread through your hands, through your wrists, through the tight places in your shoulders. You remember the fog and how you survived it by slowing down, trusting one step at a time. You remember the lamp's low, careful light on painted ceilings, and the fixed constellations that refused to be stolen by weather. You remember the horse's warm breath in the stable, the calm rhythm of hooves, and your hands finally calm. Let those memories blur gently now, like ink settling in water. Nothing needs to be sharp anymore. If your mind tries to replay a worry, you can set it down beside the path, the way you placed a flat stone where the ground was slick, and you can walk past it without arguing. Breathe in, slow and cool. Breathe out, longer, softer. Feel the exhale empty the day from your ribs. Feel your jaw unclench. Feel your eyelids grow pleasantly heavy. The fort keeps its watch without you. The tomb keeps its colors without you. The mountains keep their weather without you. And you, right now, are allowed to rest, safe, quiet, held by the simple fact that this story has carried you through and gently set you down. Sleep arrives, slow, sure, unhurried, on time. End of story. Sweet dreams.